What's up guys? Today I'm going to show you how you can go about waxing your chain for the first time. If you are just getting into waxing, or you maybe do a little bit of waxing already but you haven't used one of these strip chips before, this video is for you. I'm going to show you how you can easily and quite quickly wax a new chain straight out of the box. As you'll know, if you've fitted any new chains yourself before, the lube that comes on these chains out the box is really sort of viscousy and thick. So when you're trying to wax a chain for the first time and you don't have a strip chip, you've got to use quite a lot of solvents to sort of dissolve the lubricant. I've done it before in the past, and yeah, it's quite a tedious process because you've sort of got to dissolve it in turpentine, but you can use other solvents to do it. As you'll know, it's quite a messy and quite a smelly process. Silca does this thing called a strip chip, and essentially all you got to do is take one of these little blocks and add it to your secret chain wax mix in your wax melt, and supposedly that dissolves all the factory lubrication and makes it a lot easier to do it. So this is what they look like, kind of look like chocolate blocks. So I'm going to just put one of these guys in there and top up my wax because it looks like I'm running low a bit here. While it is heating up, it's worthwhile just explaining how to go about putting your chain on this. If you've got the Silca hot wax machine, then you get this little device here that helps you just thread your chain onto it so you can dip it. You can also use just wire, and that works quite well, but this I found works best because what you don't want is you don't want the chain falling off the wire and back into the wax when you're hanging it. It can hurt when it lands on your face, so best not to do that. Okay, while the wax is busy melting over here, what I like to do is just prepare the chain, and to thread this guy through, I sort of put this laid out like this, and you kind of have to lay it out where the big ones are on each side, because you have to thread this piece through the biggest part because that won't fit through the smaller ones. So you'll see here what I'm doing is just threading that through, and I just do it like this to try and make my life a little bit easier. And I found, like, it's not an exact science, but you get to a point where you are kind of using your feel on how long this should be, because what happens is when it is a bit too long, then it doesn't sit nicely in the bath. And if it's too short, then it's too wide, and then again also doesn't fit nicely in the bath. So I'm kind of just using my gut feel on this, and sort of end up with something like that. And don't forget to do your power links over here. Shram likes to say these are single use. I don't see these as single use. I use them repeatedly on and off my chain all the time when I wax, so I don't see any issues there. And then you should have something that looks pretty much like that. Now this is at 97 degrees, and once it hits 125, then we will put it in the bath. Okay, once the wax has heated up to 125 degrees Celsius, we can put this in. You just got to make sure that this is nicely screwed in, otherwise it will come undone and then it's not so fun. So plug it into the hot wax just like this, and you kind of want to just wiggle it in a bit and get all the air bubbles out. And then I just like to find a way of resting this just like that. Leave it in for 10 minutes. Okay, you can see here this is nice and warm. It's been in here for about 10 minutes at 125 degrees Celsius, and now we are going to reduce it to 85 degrees. It's going to take about 10 minutes for it to reach 85 degrees. Once it hits 85 degrees, we're actually going to leave it in for another 10 minutes because we want the core temperature of the chain also to reduce. So if we just took this out when it hit 85 degrees, the core temperature of the chain would still be a lot higher, meaning that there'd be less wax that sticks to the chain when we took it out. So it's really important that you leave it in the wax while it is at 85 degrees for an additional 10 minutes. And that way we can ensure that more wax stays behind on the chain when we remove it from the wax bath. Okay, once the chain has been in here for 10 minutes at 85 degrees, it should be ready then just to take out. So I can already feel that it is quite a lot cooler and is therefore ready to take out. So the bottom of the chain is just touching the wax here. This is where you kind of need to use your judgment to make sure that you just get it just enough out. Okay, so just remember that before you fit your chain to your bicycle, it's probably a good idea to break the wax up a bit. So I have let my chain cool for a bit. Now it's cool enough to touch, and I will now take out the cable here. So what is a good idea is to break the wax or to break the chain in a bit as much as possible before putting it on your bike. And the reason we do that is you'll feel that the chain is quite stiff and quite difficult to bend. Now we don't want to be putting that kind of stress through the bike, or we want to be reducing that kind of stress as much as possible. And in order to do that, there's a couple of ways. So you can definitely do it by hand. It will take a lot more time, but just to sort of bend the chain as tightly as possible, you can kind of curl it up like this. But what I like to do is to pull the chain against a pole of some sort. So I'm just going to take the bike down and I'll show you what I use to do it. Okay, so now we're ready to break the chain in a bit, and this you do before putting it on your bicycle. And it's quite easy just to take the chain around a pole and just go around it a few times. If you want to be like OCD about it, you can do it around a nylon pole, but a little bit of metal is not going to do that much damage. And just like that, now the chain is a lot more flexible and will help just reduce the break-in time and the stress on the group set when you do put it on. So that's just a suggestion. A lot of people don't or miss this step, and I think it makes a big difference. So really, really worthwhile doing. Okay guys, so thank you so much for watching. If you are interested in this sort of stuff, stay tuned for more cycling content. And if you enjoyed this video, if you got some value, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate your support. So thank you very much, and thanks for watching.